Sometimes as I surf the internet, I come across really interesting problems. I try to solve those problems. This is A Canuck Thinks.
For a more complete story of the beaver, why not contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa?
Today I'm considering the question, how would you explain sight to the blind? Now for this video, I will be cutting to a black screen, and I encourage everyone to close their eyes and simply listen to the video and try to visualize the concepts that I lay out. Now imagine, if you will, that you're sitting at a desk, and I tell you, in front of you there is a sheet of paper, and I encourage you to feel the top of it. As you start feeling around, you would be able to tell the difference in texture between the desk and the paper, and as such you would be able to feel the borders of the paper and get a rough idea of its shape. Given that you're only touching the top of the paper, you basically touch one side of the paper. I want you to think about this as a two-dimensional object, and this is important because when we look at an object, we see it in two dimensions. And I know this doesn't mean much to our blind friends, but stick with me here. Now, if you will, imagine that this piece of paper is actually the front of a cereal box, and that this cereal box is now standing in front of you on the desk. I'd now like you to bring your hand up to your chest as if you were holding a drink. But now I'd like you to change your hand position to make it look like you're going to poke something, or that you're pointing towards something. And from this position, I'd like you to thrust your finger out and poke the cereal box. But I want you to stop when you touch it. If you were to poke out and retract your arm multiple times and poke out in slightly different directions, you would be able to slowly figure out the shape of that object. Now let's say I swap out that cereal box for another cereal box, except this one has a lot of different textures on it. Some are gritty, some are smooth, some are sticky, and some are prickly. If we were to poke this box over and over, you would be able to tell me what areas of the box are gritty, what areas are smooth. I would like you to think of these textures as colors. But textures are as different from colors as textures are different from sounds. So now here's where the imagination process gets a little more difficult. Now let's say I change the layout of the items that are on the desk, and you still have the cereal box, but to the right of the cereal box and slightly behind it, I place a teapot. As we repeat our poking process, you'll be able to feel once again all the textures and the shape of the cereal box. But if you poke slightly to the right, you'll start to feel the teapot. However, any part of the teapot that's behind the cereal box, you will not be able to poke and won't be able to get any information on. So I'd say by now we're pretty good with the concept of poking things to figure out their shapes. And we're also really good at figuring out, by poking, if something's behind another object and how far away it is from that object. So we go back to our original question. What's it like to see? Well, let's imagine that instead of your hand that does the poking, you have an infinite number of fingers, and they all come out from your face. These fingers reach out and touch everything that's directly in front of them, thereby feeling everything in the room all at once. And these fingers go out and poke incredibly quickly. They do hundreds of thousands of pokes every second. So if something is moving in the room, say a ball rolling across the floor, those pokes would tell you where that ball is and where that ball is moving in relation to the other objects. If you were to turn and look down a hallway, those fingers would then go out and start poking all the objects in that hallway, and they would stop poking everything that's in that previous room. Okay, open your eyes. Is this a perfect explanation of sight? Absolutely not. But I hope that in my own crude way I can, provide some sort of perspective on what seeing is actually like. If you found this video helpful or interesting, or you think it might help, please forward it off to people who are blind, and I'd love to hear their perspectives on whether this made sense or not. Thanks for your time, and have a good one.